the first strength exercise. There are few things you can do in your day-to-day life that will improve the endogenous synthesis of testosterone as much as strength training, okay? That's why when we talk about training and we recommend people to do strength training, of course, regardless of whether you are male or female, we do it not to burn calories, not to increase your muscle, just for the sake of increasing it. We do it because it has a certain hormonal impact, because it improves insulin sensitivity, because it improves your metabolic and hormonal environment, not solely due to calorie burn. In fact, strength training is not the one that burns the most calories. We need to stop seeing physical exercise as a way of burning calories only. So strength training, how? Focus on large muscle groups, multi-joint exercises, multi-articular exercises, and at least do 3 or 4 sessions of about 30 to 45 minutes at least a week. Okay? Number 2, high intensity interval training. The so-called high-intensity interval training also raises testosterone levels. It also has an impact on the endogenous synthesis of testosterone. It seems that increasing the intensity of training, workouts that have a high intensity but also have recovery periods, the so-called high-intensity interval training is key. It is the most basic, the most standard, as it will be beneficial in this aspect, includes to be able to be both high-intensity interval training sessions and sessions of strength in your routine. The third point is something that is rarely taken into account. Have an adequate energy intake. What does adequate mean? Well, both a very low energy intake, typical of athletes who train many hours a week, is seen much more in women than in men, but it is also seen in men who train with a very high training volume and do not ingest the necessary calories. Well, they develop hypogonadism in the long term. Their testosterone levels might be low because chronically their energy levels do not meet their requirements. This in the field, on the side of low energy, but also on the side of excessive energy, we are going to incur overweight and obesity if we provide more calories than what we use chronically, and this, as I say in another point, will also decrease testosterone levels. Okay, we move on to the fourth point, zinc. Zinc is very important. This trace element, this mineral, is a key enzymatic cofactor in the synthesis of testosterone. And it seems that our Western diet does not help at all to have adequate levels of zinc. There's a lot of population, a lot more than you think, that are deficient in zinc, okay? So, where is the zinc? Zinc is in many products, in many foods, in oysters, in pork, in eggs, in dark chocolate. Many seeds contain zinc. Some cruciferous vegetables contain zinc. So following a healthy and varied diet, there should be no problem. The problem is when we replace these foods with ultra-processed foods that have virtually no micronutrients, including zinc. So in the long term, a Western diet can lead to a zinc deficiency, and this zinc deficiency can be quite limiting to the synthesis of. The fifth point about testosterone is vital, and I would say it's one of the most important, not to mention it's the most important one. Quality and quantity of sleep. There's a really good technology, entertainment design talk called Sleep is Your Superpower. Sleep is your superpower. It's great. It perfectly explains with examples, with studies, how sleep affects testosterone synthesis. And one fact that left me astounded was that adult males who slept 5 hours had significantly smaller testicles. That is, compared to males who slept their 8 hours, they're 7.5 hours, okay? So, in the long term, sleep deprivation, that is, sleeping less than you should, can result in even hypogonadism in the most extreme cases, but it surely results in a decreased testosterone synthesis, okay? A decreased endogenous synthesis. And we always talk about the amount of sleep, but we should also talk about the quality of sleep, okay? About the quality of sleep. It's not enough just to sleep our 8 hours. The quality of sleep should also be adequate. It should be good. The sixth point, alcohol. Alcohol is a direct toxin to the Leydig cells responsible for the production of testosterone. So, in addition to being toxic to the muscle, in addition to being toxic to the neurons, alcohol will also decrease your endogenous synthesis of sexual steroids, in this case testosterone. Avoid alcohol as much as possible. The less the better. 7th point, chronic stress, the great killer of our era. Chronic stress also lowers testosterone levels. This can typically be seen in people who suffer from chronic emotional disorders, who have a non-acute situation of a circumscribed health or emotional problem, but something chronic, something that is postponed over the months, over the years, and ends up becoming chronic. Okay? This situation of chronic stress will also affect the levels of endogenous testosterone. Find your antidotes. In some people it may be meditation, in others it may be exercise, in others it may be nature, whatever it is. Whatever your antidote is, but look for it. Find an antidote to this modern killer, chronic stress. The 8th point is vitamin D. It's not so much the fact that taking more vitamin D will produce more testosterone, but that a deficiency in vitamin D is indeed related to lower serum levels of testosterone. Vitamin D is a vitamin that could also be called a hormone because it has hormonal functions throughout the body. It is found in certain foods, especially fatty foods like cod liver oil, other oils, egg yolk, oily fish, but taken from the diet alone does not provide enough. We need an essential element to synthesize vitamin D, and that is the sun. We need sun to synthesize vitamin D. So sun exposure is also health. It's also very important. Do not fear the sun in any context and any circumstance. Take precautionary measures so as not to burn yourselves. But sun exposure is necessary for health. It's necessary. So vitamin D, another important factor, measure it from time to time. You don't have to measure it every 6 months, but sometime in your life measure your vitamin D levels. If you are deficient in vitamin D, either increase your sun exposure or the consumption of foods rich in vitamin D, or supplement until your levels are adequate. But vitamin D levels do relate to testosterone. The 9th point, 9 fats. Testosterone is a steroid. Like all steroids, steroid hormones have a unique progenitor, which is cholesterol. Agreed? So a very low, very low fat diet is going to impact the synthesis of steroids and steroid hormones in general. By the way, vitamin D, its precursor, is also a molecule derived from cholesterol, in case you didn't know. So maintain a diet sufficient in fats, especially healthy fats. Monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, okay? Healthy fats, avocado, nuts, blue fish are also important for testosterone synthesis. The 10th point is also interesting, and it's something new. There's some study out there that talks about the combination of creatine at the usual doses and hydroxymethylbutyrate would have a synergistic effect on testosterone synthesis. We knew that creatine is a widely tested supplement, and it's quite efficient in improving athletic performance, sports performance, especially in strength sports, explosive sports, where there's a power component, explosiveness. But it seems, according to some studies, that if hydroxymethylbutyrate is combined, there is some synergy in the synthesis of endogenous testosterone. If you're interested in this topic and want me to review the studies that talk about creatine and hydroxymethylbutyrate, leave it in the comments and I'll get to work. Point number 11 was in line with point number 3. Obesity, when it is very extreme, produces hypogonadism, hypogonadotropic. Okay, not due to testicular failure, but due to central failure of the pituitary and the hormones that stimulate the Leydig cells, as I said, of the hormone mainly LH. Hypogonadotropic hypogonadism. In addition, at the peripheral level, what excess fat does is express an enzyme in greater proportion, which is aromatase. Aromatase has a function which is to aromatize testosterone and convert it into estradiol, that is estrogens. Agreed? So the more excess fat, the more estrogens and less testosterone due to more action of the aromatase. That's why obesity is sometimes associated with a more estrogenic appearance. For example, gynecomastia is also more related to weight, having more fat and therefore more aromatase. And now come two very curious elements. I found them very curious and I think you're going to be interested. One is ginger, okay? Number 12, the ginger. Yes, there are several reviews out there that talk about the effect of ginger on the endogenous synthesis of testosterone. It seems that it would increase LH, which would increase the amount of cholesterol in the testo, which would decrease lipid peroxidation in the testo, and oxidative stress, which would increase antioxidant activity, which by indirectly improving glycemic control would also improve synthesis, which would increase blood flow in the testicle, which would increase the recycling of testosterone receptors. All of this seems to be attributable to ginger. Look, something we have in our kitchens. Well, a substance with interesting bioactive effects to try, healthy, 100% healthy. You lose nothing by using it in your meals as a spice, as a regular condiment. Ginger, intriguing. And number 13, in the same line as ginger, garlic. There's also some study that I'll review more thoroughly and probably bring to you in another video, which suggests that garlic could also increase the synthesis of endogenous testosterone by reducing insulin resistance and increasing nitric oxide and therefore vasodilation, blood flow in the body, and also have some effect that overlaps with the actions I just mentioned about ginger, okay? Garlic and ginger, very interesting. And to finish, I promised you there were 13 plus 1. It was something that wasn't noted in the video script. It occurred to me on the fly as I was telling you about the video. And it is the exposure to endocrine disruptors that has also been linked with lower reproductive function and with lower testosterone synthesis. Specifically, bisphenol A is an endocrine disruptor present in many everyday plastics that seems to have been linked to this alteration, decrease in reproductive function, testosterone synthesis as well. So guys, 13 plus 1. Factor that will allow you to improve your testosterone synthesis, that is naturally increase your testosterone without the help of drugs. I hope it has been useful. I hope it has been of your interest. And now, yes, see you in the next video. Thank you for your support and keep empowering.